So I'll just select this 4. I'll say right click, copy image address, and here I'm going to paste the thing. I'll say submit, and I have it. It says the predicted number is 4. Hey everyone, my name is Ronak, back with another video, and in this video you are going to learn an end-to-end project development of the MNIST digit classifier. So what we are going to do in this project is we are going to feed it a link from the internet of a handwritten digit, and then our system is going to classify which number it is. So this is a kind of a very simple project, but the deployment portion of it is very important. Since we are not going to go with the console, we are actually going to make an entire application, an entire, I would say, full stack application, in which you will have a proper UI in which you can post the link of any image, and then your system is automatically going to download that image, process it, and give you the outcome. So let us get started. So in order to get started with this one, you will require the MNIST database, and the way you can find it on Google, just type MNIST, and this is the first link that you will come across, which is by Jan LeCun. Okay, so this is his creation actually. Alright, so he's a, I would say, major contributor in this project, along with Corina Cortez and Christopher Burgess. So they actually together made a data set of 70,000 handwritten digits, out of which 60,000 are our training samples and 10,000 are our testing samples. And these images, so these are basically 28 by 28 handwritten images. Okay, so dimension 28 by 28 pixels. So that is the image that we have. Okay, so the way these 4 files are structured are that your training data is stored in something known as IDX3 UByte format. Then XTrain labels, so basically YTrain labels, are IDX1 UByte formatized, and similarly we have the other things. Okay, so now I would say this is a different format. So we are now going to learn how we can actually use that in our ML. Alright, so right before we get started with everything, you will have to download these files. So just click on the file and you will come across something like this, in which I already have downloaded all the 4 things. So just make a folder named, let's say, downloaded data, and just save. Okay, so it is going to download for you. So I have already downloaded it so that we don't have to waste much time. And now let us get started. Alright, so the first thing I'll do is I'll go to my directory. Alright, and I'll open my VS Code. So I have my all the downloaded files. Okay, so but these are in the format of GZ. Alright, so this is actually, I would say, a compressed format. So we will have to uncompress it. And the way I do it, so what I'll do, I'll actually do this using the file explorer itself. Alright, so I'll say explorer dot over here. I'll go to the downloaded data, and here I'm going to select. So right before doing that, I'll make a folder. So I'll say mkdir, that is for make folder. I'll just zoom this. Alright, seems fine. So I'll say mkdir, and in this mkdir, I'm going to make a folder. So I'll say data. Alright, data is a folder that I'm making. So I have my data. Now here I'm going to click and right click, and I'll select extract files. So the way I'm working is by using the WinRAR. Okay, but there is also a command I'll show you. Alright, so my files are uncompressed, and now I can go to the data and I can find those. Okay, so my testing images are IDX3 UByte. These are the labels, these are the training images, and these are the training labels. Alright, so this is the way the data is there. So now we will actually have a look at how we are going to perform operations on it. So coming back to this, so now I can also, I'll show you a method of the CLI itself. Alright, so if you are on the Linux, you can go with, you can say tar, and you can then say zxvf. Alright, so this is the way you can do it. But on the Windows, you can say 7z.exex. Alright, then you have to specify where your files are located. So I'll say downloaded data, in which, let's say, I want to work with the images. Alright, then I will have to say -so greater than. Alright, greater than, then I'll have to say, let's say, testing data. I'll say testing data dot. Now we have to specify the format, which is IDX3. Alright, so let me have some space for you. This is fine. Okay, so IDX3, and then I can say UByte. Okay, and it has been actually done. All right, so you can see the file over here. If you like this, you can do it. So I'll just delete it for now. Okay, so I'll say del. All right, and I got rid of that. Anyway, now the first thing that you are going to require is we are going to start working with the Jupyter, okay, which is going to be my, let's say, machine learning model. So the way I do it, I'll say, so I'm going to say Jupyter notebook over here. So right before doing that, you will have to say pip install Jupyter. Okay, so you can actually do this. For me, it is going to say requirement already satisfied because I already have installed it. So now I'm going to start it. So I'll say Jupyter notebook. All right. So this is my folders. So here I'll say new Python 3, and now I'm going to work on my model. Okay. So I'll say model underscore notebook. Okay. That is the name I want to give. So now you are going to require one library. So this is known as pip install. You have to say idx to numpy. All right, so it says requirement already satisfied for me, so please install it. So this is going to handle those idx files. We have to convert them into numpy arrays so we can actually use them. So first I'll start with my import. So I'll send import numpy as np, and then I'll say import idx to numpy. All right, so this is going to be a project right from the scratch. Okay, this is the thing, I rarely do these types of videos, but this is going to be an entire application. So you will come to know how you actually interact with the machine learning system and everything. So luckily in this one, all right, if you have a look at the data set, you don't have to split it. Okay, you already have the splits. So you have those, let's say 10,000 testing images and 60,000 training images. So you can directly start with the split. So I can say xtrain is equal to, or I can say, let's say training images. Okay, training images, and here I am going to specify the path in which I have my training images. Okay, so here I am going to say data, and I'm going to say train with the images. Similarly, I'll say training labels. Okay, so I'm just making variables so that I don't have to type a lot of code over and over again. All right, if I want to use them, I can use it. So I'll say data followed by train labels. Then I'll say testing images, which is equal to, again, this is going to be data with the t10k images. Okay, so I am not typing a lot of code, I'm just typing tab. All right, so I write a little bit of stuff and I type tab, and it is going to automatically do the things for you. All right, so here I'm going to say labels. So these are the testing labels now, where I'm going to say dot slash, then you type data. So that is the folder where I'm saving the things, and here I'm going to say t1 with tab, and I can have it. Okay, so I have to do it like this. Okay, so I have stored them, now I want to convert them. So I'll say xtrain is equal to, so now first I start with the xtrain. All right, so the way I do it, I am going to say idx to numpy dot, so I'm now going to convert it. Okay, so because I'm going to convert it from a file to numpy. Okay, so from idx I'm converting from file to the numpy array. So here I'm going to say training images. All right, training images. Similarly, I'll do it for ytrain. So I'll say idx to numpy dot convert from file, where I'm going to feed it training labels. Then I'm going to say xtest is equal to, I'll say idx to numpy, then I'm going to convert from file, and here I'm going to say testing images. And finally, I'll say ytest is equal to idx to numpy convert from file, where I'm going to say testing labels, and we have it. Okay, my data is prepared. Now I have to say xtrain.shape. All right, so xtrain.shape is basically used to find the shape. So we have 60,000 training images which are 28 by 28 pixeled. All right, similarly I can check it for ytest.shape. So it says 10,000 images. Now I'll actually show you a little bit of small visualization with which you can figure out the way the image looks. All right, so I am going to say import matplotlib. All right, so this is a library. If you don't have, you will have to install it. Okay, so you will have to say pip install matplotlib. All right, but since I have it, I'm not going to install it anyway. So I'm going to say import matplotlib. All right, dot pyplot as plt. All right, If you don't have any idea about the Python or machine learning, please go and click on the description box. You will have links to each and every resources that I have worked on till now. Okay, because this is a project development series. You cannot directly hop onto this. You can use your ML knowledge in order to learn this. All right, because this is, I would say, not a quite beginner thing. So please do refer it. Anyway, now here I'm going to say, so first I'll say plt.show. So this show basically is going to display the thing. Okay, so here I'm going to say xtrain dot shape with the 0th value. All right, so that is like one of the ways to say it, because let's say I want to work on the first image. So what I'll do, instead of shape, I'll just say 0 over here. Okay, and I'll also have to say cmap, which is the color map. So the way I do it, so there are actually many ways with which you can give the color. So I'm going to say plt.cm.binary. I hope this is right. Yeah, cm dot, I'll say binary. So binary states black and white. Okay, so it is not going to come. Okay, there is some issue with this. Okay, so I'm actually forgot IM. All right, so it is IM show. Okay, so this is the first image, that is my phi. So this is a phi number, and now here I'll say ytrain dot, so ytrain 0th value. Okay, so it says phi. All right, so this is the image, target image, and this is the label that we have. So similarly is with the X-test. Anyway, so now I want to feed it to my algorithm. So now these images, so these values are 28 by 28. I will have to convert them into a long column of 780, so 784 columns. All right, which will have my one tuple. So I will have to reshape that, because without reshaping I cannot work with it. So I'm going to say xtrain is equal to xtrain dot reshape, where I'm going to say xtrain dot shape. All right, so I'm going to work on my 60,000 images. So I'll show you how the way the things are. So here, if I say xtrain dot shape with 0, I'll have 60,000. So this indicates please work on my 60,000 images. And here I'll say 784. Why? 28 by 28 is 784. And now if I say xtrain dot shape, we have it. Okay, so now I can work my machine learning with my machine learning algorithm, where I have 60,000 rows and 784 columns. So this is my data set. Okay, this is a very large data set. If we actually look at with the aspect of let's say any of the machine learning algorithms. Similarly, I'm going to do it for X-test, where I'm going to reshape it. And here I'll say, I could actually say 10,000, but that is just fine. Okay, so I'll just work with this. And here I'm going to say again 784. And if I check, so I'll say X-test dot shape. Okay, so I have 10,000 rows with 784 columns. So my data is prepared. Now I don't have to scale it, because I am going to use the random forest, because we have to move on with the ensemble methods. Ensemble methods are pretty much easy to use. They are pretty much cool. All right, so I'll directly start building the model. Even the split is also ready. So I'll say from sklearn dot ensemble, I'm going to import random forest classifier. Then I'll say model is equal to random forest classifier, and I'm going to go with the defaults. Okay, I don't want to specify any parameters at the moment, because we are focusing much more on the development and the deployment of this machine learning project. We can work on model many times. All right, now I'm going to fit the things. So I'm going to say model.fit, where I'm going to say xtrain comma ytrain, and this may take a while. So similarly, right before this is computing, this actually depends on the computational power that you have. So I'm going to say ypred is equal to, I can say model.predict. All right, where I'm going to feed it X-test, and here I'll say from sklearn.matrix, I'm going to import. All right, so I'm going to import accuracy score. And okay, so my model is trained. It does take quite a time. Okay, so if it actually depends on your system. Okay, so here I'm going to say ytest and ypred. I'm once again saying this, if you don't have any idea what the hell I'm doing over here, please go and check my machine learning tutorials. Those are over, I think, 35-38 videos. All right, so those comprise of very rudimentary basics of the ML. You can please look to that, and it is going to be easy for you. All right, anyway, so the testing accuracy is 97%, pretty good model. Okay, but now I cannot use this model in order to train every time, because if let's say I want to predict a number from my application, not every time I'm going to train my model on all those 60,000 samples. I don't need that. So I will have to fix those. I have to save the model so that I can only use its prediction mechanism, which actually saves me a lot of, I would say, effort. So the way I do it, I'll say so from joblib. So this joblib is basically installed by its own when you actually install the sklearn. All right. So I'm going to say from joblib you have to import dump. All right. So this module actually helps you to save your machine learning model. All right. And the way I do it, so right before doing that, I'll make a new directory. So I'll say mkdir saved models. All right, and if I go over here, I have a folder named saved models in which I'm going to store it. So here I'm going to say dump, and this is going to take my model. Actually, it stores the training weights, and later on here I'm going to say saved models, and I'm going to name my file. So I can say, let's say model.joblib. Okay, so .joblib is very much important. Okay, and we have it. Okay, and now if I go over here in my saved models, I have my model.joblib file. So this is going to be my pre-trained weights which my API can actually use. And this is it for the ML part. Okay, so now I don't think there are a lot of things. So now we will actually start with the actual development. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to close Alt, and then I'll quit this. Now let us move on with the VS Code. Okay, so here I have it. I'll say CLS anyway. Okay, this entire thing will be uploaded on the GitHub. Okay, don't worry. Anyway. So now the first thing is I'll start by making a new file. So this file is going to be, let's say, prediction.py. So I want to check the prediction mechanism that I want to prepare. All right. So, and the way I do it, my goal is to feed it an image from the internet, and this image should be actually converted into the values of the 784 columns. Okay, because we have trained our model in such a fashion. So we will have to work on that. All right. So first thing is first, I'll have to import my model. Okay. So I can say from joblib, I'm going to import. All right. Let me get you a little bit more sorted with the font. Fine. All right. So from joblib, I'm going to import load. And here I'll say model is equal to load, where I'm going to load my saved model. Okay. So which is saved models. All right. And inside that my file is model.joblib. All right, and I have it. And now I want to work with the predictions. So what my plan is to first download the image. All right, this image will be downloaded in a particular fashion in a folder, and you can actually feed it links and you can have it. So in order to download any image, we have to first import something. So I will have to say from URL lib, I'm going to import something known as request. All right. So this request is actually responsible and is basically going to help us download the files. All right. And right before doing that, I'll make a new folder. Okay. I like my structure of the file to be very much clean. All right. So here I'm going to say mkdir, that is make directory. And here I'm going to say input images. All right. My directory is done. Fine. Now the next thing is I'll have to say request dot URL retrieve. All right, in which I'm going to give the link of my image and the path. So the path I'm going to say, so I'll make a variable for it. All right, so I'm going to say image path, and this image path is basically static at the moment. All right, so the way I work with it, I'll say input images, and inside this I want to make one image which is known as, let's say, input image.jpg. all right, so this is the format, and here I'm going to say input image. All right, I'm sorry, it is image path. Okay, but now here I'll have to feed a link with which I'll be downloading my image. And the way I do it, so what I'll do on the Google, I'm going to say MNIST image. Okay, and I will get a lot of images. So I'm going to go on any of the image. Okay, so you can actually select any image that you feel like implementing. Okay, so I'll just let's say select this one, there are actually many images, but we are looking forward to download the image. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll say right click on the image, and then I'm going to say copy image address. All right, and I'm going to paste that image address over here. Okay, now let us check if the image gets downloaded or not. And the way I do it, so I'll have to say python prediction.py, and it has been done. Now let us check inside the input images. We have the file name input image.jpg. Okay, see, we have the file. Now we will have to feed that file in such a fashion that it will be converted into a NumPy array. Alright, because we have to work on the arrays like we did earlier. And the way we do it, so the first thing is first we have to say, so what I'll do, I'll put this entire thing into a function and make this dynamic. Okay, so I'm going to say def, where I'm going to, let's say prediction. Alright, so prediction is the name of my function, where I'm going to feed it my link. Alright, the link of the image, and this comes over here. Alright, so this is sorted, and now I'll just get rid of this link. I don't require this link anymore, so here I'm going to say link. Okay, so link and image path is going to be static. Next thing, you will require something known as pillow. So this pillow is already pre-installed. Most likely if it isn't, please install it. So I'm going to say from pil import image. Alright, so this is responsible for handling the images that you have. And the way I do it, so here I'm going to make a variable named image. Alright, and inside this image, or I can even say input file. Okay, so just to be clear, so here I can actually say, yeah, input file is fine. Alright, and here I'm going to say image.open, inside which I'm again going to say open, and I'm going to feed it the image path. Alright, so this is actually responsible in order to download that image, but that is not sufficient. We will also have to say read byte. Okay, RB, and we have it. Okay, and now I have my image, but I want that image to have a particular dimension that is, let's say 28 by 28. Okay, because since that is not sufficient, okay, you cannot just work with the image, because any of the image can be like of any of the size. Okay, it can be like, let's say 400 by 400 or 1000 by 1000 or 2000 by 2000, but you need to be specifically in 28 by 28 form. Okay, so the way I do it, I'm going to say input image, and I'm going to say input.file, and I'm going to say resize, inside which I'm going to say 28 by 28. Okay, I have it, but this is a form of image. We want it to be numerical value. So what I'll do is I'll say import numpy as np. Building projects from scratch is very cool. Okay, if you haven't even tried it, you should, because that actually increases your knowledge. Anyway, here I'm going to say np.array, in which I'll feed it my input image. I'm sorry, it is not input file, it is input image. And now let me just print the shape of it. Okay, so I'll say data.shape, and now I'm going to call my function, which is prediction, and I'll feed it the link of the image. Okay, so I'll just copy this, copy image address, and I have it. Okay, so now I'll check the shape. So the shape it is giving us is 28 by 28 by 4 dimension. We need that. Okay, we have to get rid of this 4. So this 4 dimension is basically RGB and opaque. Alright, so that might be the case. So in order to do that, after the image.open, I'm going to say .convert, and inside this I'm going to specify L. Okay, so that is going to make it a grayscale image. Not even grayscale, it is going to remove that 3rd dimension. Alright, and now if I check it, it is 28 by 28. Okay, so this is pretty much cool. Now we can actually reshape the thing, because this is actually the value. So I'll say image underscore value, that is the name of the variable I want. So image.value, where I'm going to say data.reshape, and I'm going to say 784. Alright, and now I can print the shape of it. So I can say image value dot shape. Okay, so this is going to give us the shape, and it is 784. Okay, so finally we have it in the format of 784. Now we are going to feed it to our ML model. So I have loaded my pre-trained model over here, which is model from the job lib. So I'm going to say model. So before that I will say ypred, because we are trying to predict a value, and I'll say model.predict. So it is going to work like any other thing. All right. And now here I'm going to say image value. Now why I'm actually specifying this in a square brace? The reason is those were training of the 60,000 images with 784 columns. All right. So those were 2-dimensional. So here this is only 1-dimensional. So we had to convert the dimension. Okay. That is the thing. You can also reshape the dimension with an explicit command, but this is also a very easy tactic. All right. And now I'm going to print the ypred. And now let us check it. So it is 6 and it says 6. Okay, so this is pretty much cool. This is working. Now another thing that we want to perform on this is this is not going to get passed in a manner, plus this is also in a list format. So I can try some of the other things with it. So I'll try to convert that into, let's say, string, because you cannot pass that in the NumPy array form. ND arrays are not allowed in order to transfer the things with the APIs, because you are actually going to display it on your web page. So I'll say for I in ypred, I want to just say str I. All right, and here now I'll return I, and I have it. Okay, so here I can say ypred, that is just the name of the variable, it is dynamic in nature, and here I'm going to say print I in order to check what is the value. Okay, I'm sorry, ypred. All right, and I have it. So my basic prediction mechanism is ready, and it says 6. Okay, so this is pretty much clean. And now we can start with our Flask. Okay, so now what is Flask, you may ask. Okay, so right before doing that, I'm going to make a new file over here, which is going to say app.py. So now if you don't have any idea about Flask, right before that, I'm going to say pip install Flask. So it says requirement already satisfied. So Flask is an application, a micro web framework, which actually allows you to perform the web service and APIs. Okay, so it actually helps you give the web page functionality or an application functionality. If you don't have any clue about Flask, please go and check in the description box. I have one single video of around, I think, 1.5 hours. Okay, so that is hardly 90 minutes long, with which you can learn a lot of stuff. Anyway, so in order to get started, I'll have to say from Flask import Flask. I cannot teach Flask in this one specifically. So here I'm going to say app, that is just the variable for initialization, and inside this I'm going to say Flask __ name __. After that I will have to make a route. Okay, so I'm going to say app.route, and here I'm going to give it a path. So this is my default path. All right, and here now I'm going to make a function. So I'll say df basic, which is going to, let's say, return hello world. All right, and now I need an entry point. So I'll say if __ name is __ is equal to _ main __. I want to run my app. Okay, so I'll say app.run, and I want it to run even if I make any changes. So I'll say debug is equal to true. Okay, in the production phase you have to actually turn off that if you host it somewhere or the other. Now here I'm going to say python app.py. Okay, and now it is running on the localhost server of :5000. So now I'll actually go on that link. So in my browser I'm going to say localhost :5000, and it says hello world for me. Now I will have to change this. So I want to render a template over here. Okay, so I'm going to say render template, and in the imports it automatically did for me. But if you don't have any clue, you can say .comma render template. All right, in the Flask, and I can just get rid of this. Anyway, so now I'll have to make a new file. So here I'm going to make a new folder, which is templates. So this templates holds my web pages, and inside this templates I'm going to make a file known as index.html. So here in the index.html I'm going to say exclamation and enter. Okay, so I will have my web page, and in here I'm going to say, after render template, I'm going to say index.html. That is the name of the file. All right, so my Flask code is ready and my server refreshes every time I press Ctrl S. Anyway, now I want to interact with that function that we have made over here, this prediction mechanism. All right, so I'll say from prediction, that is the name of the file, I'm going to import prediction. Okay, in order to get rid of the confusion, I will say prediction underscore function. All right, so that is one of the ways, and I'll just replace this name over here in the prediction.py so that you just don't get confused. All right, so that is the only motive. So you have to say def prediction function, and I can also call it over here. So now we will actually use that function. So my goal is now, in order to, I'm going to pass the link through the web page. So for that, we will have to first start with the form. So I will have to say form, and this form is going to have an action of slash. Okay, so this slash is basically going to hit on this route. All right, because both the where it is slash. Okay, if I make a change over here, I will also have to make a change over there. Then I'll say method is equal to post. So this post method is responsible for posting the data. All right, so here now I'm going to specify it. So I'll say methods is equal to, inside square brace, I'm going to say get and post. Why I need get? I need get because I'm rendering the template in the first instance, and after a post request, some other operation is going to come into picture. So I'll say if request dot, right before doing that, you will have to make an import. All right, so after render template, what you can do is you can type comma and request. All right, so this request will be used. So I'll say if request dot method is equal to post, I want to perform something. All right, I want to perform something, and what I want to perform, I want the value from my form. All right, so inside this form, here I'm going to say input with the type as text. Okay, and with the name, and let's say input link. And here I'm going to say label, and here I'm going to say for input link. All right, and in this I'm going to say enter your link. All right, and I'll make a button. So I'm going to say input, which is type submit, and I have it. Okay, so my basic form is ready, and now here I'm going to say if the method is equal to post. Now I want to fetch the data inside this. All right, and the way I do it, I'll say, so I'll actually make a variable. Okay, so I'll say links, or yeah, input link is fine. Okay, input underscore link, which is equal to, okay, so request dot method, I'm sorry, it is request dot form, in which I'm going to specify input underscore link. Okay, so what it will do is when I click on the submit button, all right, it is going to take the data which is inside the input link, and it is going to pass it in this one through this route via post. With the input link variable, it is going to get stored. All right, this is the way it is done. And now I'll actually leverage my model. So I'll say ypred, which is going to be my, let's say, output, and here I'm going to say prediction function, in which it takes the parameter of link, where I'm going to pass it my input link. All right, so this is going to be the input for it, and the output, this ypred, is basically the I that we get over here, which is returned. All right, so this is the way it works, and now I will have to return it. So I'll have to return render template, inside which I'm going to say index.html, and now I'm going to pass it with the help of one variable. Okay, so you can pass variables through the template, and here we are going to say ypred, and we have it. Okay, our basic Flask code has been done. Now we will have to use Jinja over here in order to catch that. So here I'm going to say if output. Okay, so basically it is if output is equal to true. Now you might be wondering where the hell the output came from. All right, so this output came from here. So output is a variable. Okay, I can also type Ronak over here and catch Ronak as here. Okay, it doesn't matter. So I am just passing my ypred through that output variable from the render template. So whenever this function has been prepared, it's going to push it through this, and here I can fetch it and prepare a condition. Okay, so I'm going to say if and if only the output is true, I'm going to print out the output, and this is it. Okay, so my Jinja is ready. So this Jinja is going to pop up on my page which is going to indicate that, okay, this is the particular number that you are looking forward to predict. And the things are ready. All right, so this is my API, and let us see. Okay, so it is not running. So I'll say py app.py. All right, if you are using Linux or Mac, please type Python. And now here I'm going to reload this thing. All right, so yeah, and we have it. Okay, so it says enter link for me, and I'm going to go on this MNIST image. I'm going to right click on this 6, and I'm going to say copy image address, and I'm going to paste it over here, and I'm going to submit, and it says 6. We have a victory. All right, so we finally did it, but this is actually very dirty looking. The thing is, I'm not a front-end developer, I am a professional data scientist, but yet I'm going to help you today to make this application look wonderful. Okay, I want that to happen. Let us select other number. Okay, so I'll select 4 over here. I'll say copy image address. I'm going to paste it over here. I'll say submit, and I have 4. Okay, so we have a victory. Now I'll try to enhance the appearance of this using Bootstrap. So not necessarily I'm going to go through every nitty-gritty details. Okay, I'll just try my hand, because I, frankly speaking, don't try to do a lot of things with Bootstrap and everything. Please understand that I work with teams. Okay, my work in my professional working environment or any other hackathons that I've been a part of is always to prepare the machine learning model and manage the cloud. Okay, I have done that using and also I manage a little bit of backend. So my other team members work particularly on the front end. Okay, so they prepare apps and everything for me, and then I just use my REST API and everything in order to connect with their mobile apps. All right, so that is the thing we do. Anyway, so here I'm going to go with the CDN. So I'll say copy, and now I'm going to work on this. So here I'll paste it. All right, so this is my CDN. So this will actually give me the functionality of my Bootstrap. Okay, and in the document I'll change the title. Okay, so let me say digit classification full stack. All right, I'll also speed up some things in between in order to save the time and everything. Okay, so now here I can say class, and I can say form control. All right, and now I'll try to reload this thing. I'll just cancel this. Okay, so my form is looking much more better. Okay, so now I'll just speed up the things, and I'll explain you the code later on. And we are back. All right, so not a great UI, but I think this is the best you can expect from a backend developer. All right, so this is the best effort, I would say. Anyway, so now it is the time to test the image. All right, so I'll go over here, and I'm going to select this 6. All right, so I'll say right click. I'm going to copy image address. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to enter my link. I'm going to say submit, and it says 6. We have it. Okay, so we have it. But now let us actually try to perfect this a little bit. Okay, so nothing fancy. The things that I've did over here, I have given the background as BG dark, so that is actually making the background dark. Then I am saying navbar, so this is it, navbar, where I've written MNIST digit classification with the text as light and background as dark. Then I am centering the text in which I'm using an image with image fluid class, and I'm selecting the image. All right, so this is the GIF that I got from the internet, and I have also given it source, so you can click and you can also have that image. And after that I have a div in which, so what I'll do is I'll just put it in this container itself. All right, so that is a great thing. And so this Jinja is inside the container itself, and here now I'm going to update some things. So the way I do it, I'll say the predicted number is, and let me make it italic. All right, so this is the way we do it. And now let us just test this. So once again I can check any other image. All right, so I'll just select this 4. I'll say right click, copy image address, and here I'm going to paste the thing. I'll say submit, and I have it. It says the predicted number is 4. Okay, we finally made it. So this is our full stack application. Similarly, I'll just check for some another image. All right, so let me work with this 3. So I'll say right click, copy image address. I'll put it over here. I'll just submit. It says the predicted number is 3. Alright, so this is our full stack application. We actually are using ML in the backend. Alright, our background has machine learning. Okay, this is the great thing, and I would say if you are someone in the college, or let's say who is looking forward to get into the professional machine learning career, this is the way you should make some applications. Okay, because these applications are going to make your resume much more stronger. So there is a higher chance of you getting hired, because at least you can get hired as a machine learning engineer. Because if you know how you can make an API, okay, you can use either Flash, Django, doesn't matter, and most likely in industries they use REST API, with which they JSONify the things and pass. Alright, so there is actually a dedicated front-end development team in any of the organizations where they actually work on the real-world stuff. And what they do is they use some mobile apps, or let's say front ends made in Angular or React.js or Vue.js, and they connect their Flask or Django backend, which has the ML on it, and they interact using the REST. Alright, so that is the thing they do. But this is a small project, okay, and you should learn this, okay, in order to make such applications, because this is very much cool. Alright, because assuming the fact, if you have your project in, let's say, hackathon or your any of the competitions, or wherever you're showcasing your skills, or on your LinkedIn with the GitHub profile links, so there having an end-to-end application is always going to be the best thing. So please try working on this application, okay, and this entire source code of this entire tutorial is going to be available in the description box below. You can just click on the link and you can find the source code, play with it, okay. And if you like my content, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss out any of the updates. I have a lot of stuff coming for you, okay, and it is just that I do. Alright, so I hope that you might have learned something or the other from this tutorial, and till the next video, so thank you for watching. Goodbye.